Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you are. I'm Ana Lucia Jacome, Senior Project Leader and Human Rights Expert at the UNITAR's Division for People and Social Inclusion. I remain at your disposal in case you want to explore possible synergies on aging issues. I encourage you, dear participants, to send your questions or comments to the speakers by using the Q&A Zoom tab. Let me introduce now Mr. Alex Mejia, the Director of the Division for People and Social Inclusion and the Director of the International Training Centers for Authorities and Leaders, CIFA Global Network. Besides of his experience working at the UN, he worked for years at the private and public sector, including as the Vice Minister of Economy of the Republic of Ecuador. He served as alternate governor to the International Monetary Fund, to the World Bank, and to the Inter-American Development Bank, as well as member of the Board of Directors of Ecuador's Central Bank. Please, Alex, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ana Lucia. Thank you, distinguished speakers, and particularly thanks to you, distinguished participants. I would like to share a couple of ideas, but first, let me tell you that at the United Nations, we are focused on assigning due priority to everything related to the advancing of the cause of aging, the protection of the rights of older persons, the concept of acting aging as a whole, and hopefully when the moment comes, a multilateral treaty that will guarantee that there is no ageism, there is no discrimination, and that indeed the rights of the persons, of older persons are respected as it should be. So this second roundtable in this third year of a series on aging that we have very many partners, including UNITAR, the UN agency that I represent. This one is entitled The Use of New Technologies for Promoting Mental Health, Accompaniment and Support to Improve the Lives of Older Persons. You will remember that the use of new technologies bring indeed opportunities, but also challenges. And today we have a very impressive array of experts and distinguished panelists that will help us to better understand what are those challenges and opportunities indeed to improve the lives of older persons. But if I may share with you some more ideas as a way of introduction, we believe that to enhance the overall well-being and the quality of life of older persons, the adoption and use of new technologies is critical. With the advent of, for instance, of telemedicine and online therapy platforms, older persons, especially those with reduced mobility, if you think deeply, or living in rural areas, they have challenges accessing what technology give us when we live in urban areas or where we are technology savvy. So we have a work to do. This accessibility ensures that all the persons will receive timely and appropriate care, breaking down barriers that previously hindered their ability to seek help. This goes beyond care, beyond health, access to education, access to new labor markets and the like. Additionally, if I may say, continuous monitoring tools such as wearable devices and health apps enable early detection of mental health issues, allowing for prompt intervention and personalized care plans. Technological solutions play a critical role in reducing social isolation, a common issue among older adults that can lead to depression and anxiety, one of the great pandemics that nobody's talking about. Now, we know that video conferencing, social media, virtual communities, and the state-of-the-art of communication can also help maintain connections with family, friends, peers, communities of older persons proper, fostering a sense of belonging and reducing loneliness. These tools not only provide emotional support, but also create opportunities for older persons to engage in social activities and community events from the comfort of their homes. I was saying at the beginning that this ethos, this idea, this concept of active aging remains critical. If we can ensure and we can help that older persons remain active, the benefits are immeasurable. Less issues of health, mental health, physical health, less issues of abandonment, and so on, because active aging indeed maintain older persons with older wisdom very much active. Finally, and if I conclude with this rumination of ideas, we also know that new technologies empower older persons by promoting independence and self-management of their mental health, of their physical health. Educational platforms, as I mentioned, mental health apps, digital tools, and other resources. There are several platforms created around the world that can actually help someone, particularly in rural areas, if there is access to technology, can bring a wealth of information and activities and resources to people that normally wouldn't have it. So technology indeed makes a difference. And to leave you with one final idea, let me invite you to also consider that these digital platforms integrate support networks, including family, government, if I have to say, access to government, and several other communities that for an older person is necessary to interact with. We all understand that to be a senior in years, with all the wisdom that it brings, can also bring some challenges on how to engage with that technology, particularly because it's evolving so fast, particularly because artificial intelligence is bringing opportunities indeed, but also challenges. So I leave you with these ideas, a way of introduction, that at the same time that we are to do anything necessary to help usher adoption of new technologies and use of new technologies in older communities, at the same time, we need to be cognizant of the fact that this is not an easy task. With this, let me stop, and we will go now to a very distinguished panel. If you can share that on the screen, Ana Lucia and colleagues, I will thank you very much. We do have an agenda, and it would be important that the participants see that. In this agenda, you'll see that the first speaker is Ms. Roxana Whitemer-Ilescu. Then we will have Mr. Belisario Contreras, then Ms. Sylvia Perron-Levin, a great friend of the United Nations, Professor Andrew Sixsmith, Madame Sylvia Neira, a member of our team, and a very senior person when it comes to the Aging Foundation and the Global Initiative on Aging. And finally, a great supporter of this effort that we have at UNITAR, Dr. Michael Stein from Harvard University. Very impressive. I thank them in advance. And to begin the proceedings, I would like to invite my colleague, Ms. Ana Lucia Jacome, to take the floor to properly introduce them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex. Now, let me warmly welcome our dear colleague, Ms. Roxana Whitemer-Ilescu, Senior Coordinator on Digital Inclusion of the ITU. She's the focal point for older persons and for ICT digital accessibility. She advises ITU members and stakeholders on establishing policies and executing strategies to meet all people's needs in using information and communication technologies, especially for older persons or persons in vulnerable situations, ensuring that everyone is included in the digital society and ecosystem. We take this opportunity to congratulate you for all the initiatives you have been working on, dear Roxana, and now please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ana Lucia. And so first of all, thank you for the invitation to be part of this virtual roundtable series on mainstreaming knowledge on aging, the second event. And it's a great honor to contribute to this important discussion in the company of such well-known speakers. I have to say that while the presentation of the Honorable Director Alex Mejia was given, I say everything I want to address, it's already said. So while this presentation, which was fantastic, was so well established, I was thinking how to change my presentation to also address perhaps something new. And so perhaps since I want to avoid duplication, I will try to address these topics from three angles. The why the topic is important for all of us, and perhaps the how and what to do, while of course addressing every single aspect which was already put by your director in setting the scene of this discussion. So on the why topic, I think that it's clear that technology opens new and exciting opportunities for all of us, and including for older adults. And it's also obvious that ICTs become the best enablers of healthy aging environments and ensuring that for everyone, but also for older person, we can access essential service like telehealth, mobile application, and so on to ensure that we are all in good health and age in good health. So on side of the business, perspective of the 2/3 of the global population in the next 30 years being age 60 and above, I think it's a clear incentive actually to ensure that digital health related services, application, and whatever products are attractive business opportunities for the private sector, particular for the technology industry. And I just want to share with you that we were using a few data at that time in beginning of 2017, in which the global market for older care technology were already estimated at that time by about 5.5 billion. And only 5 years later, BBC research estimated the value of the same by 30.6 billion, so in 2022. And they also indicated an annual growth rate of almost 20%. It was in their report Technology for Long-Term Care and Home Healthcare, I'm not mistaken. And of course, the silver economy, which was so much discussed and estimated, including by the colleagues here in the Global Coalition on Aging, from amounting to the 17 trillion. So for all this reason, it's almost very clear that all countries have to consider these opportunities to adapt and to make adjustment to the evolution of the world, which from one hand is digital, so that also in a way transpose our human rights into a digital component, but also it's aging. So if societies anticipate and respond to this, to be flexible to age-related needs and preference, I think they will be most successfully and take advantage of this. Now, on the terms of the how, so let's delve on how ICT and new technology, including emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence, can promote mental health, accompaniment, and support to improve the lives of older persons. I hope at least some of you had the opportunity to follow the recent I for Good summit. We had concrete visuals. We were surrounded by robots, and we saw how perhaps we had a flavor of the future of our aging, and it was very impressive. I would say, in short, that from more traditional way, promoting mental health and well-being is done by telehealth services. So the ICT-enabled telehealth service, providing older adults with easy access to mental health professional and counseling service from their homes. I would say that this is particularly beneficial for a person with mental health, as reduce the need for travel, increase the frequency of contact, ensuring a consistent mental health support if need. Also, from the terms of the applications, we have many artificial intelligence for mental health application that offer personalized support, cognitive behavior therapy, mindful exercise. Many of us already are doing this, me included. And anyway, these apps can monitor moods, provide stress relief activities, suggest intervention tailored to individual needs, for example, including manage symptoms associated with Alzheimer's disease, so enabling an early detection and so on. Instead of social connection platform, which were already mentioned, I would just say that ICT indeed facilitates social interactions through platforms like video calls, social media, virtual communities, and helps older adults stay connected with family. This is very linked also with the loneliness, you know. So I would say that at any age, we need these contacts. And if technology can provide these contacts, it's truly, truly an added value. This can also provide an emotional support and help maintain cognitive function through regular social interaction for all of us. Also, in terms of virtual companions, and I saw some of them in this iForGood Summit recently, that how could be in future. I think would be very interesting because they can engage in conversation based on end user preference, so can be tailored, provide reminders, so offer companionship, help at the end overcome loneliness, you know, of some of the older adults who live alone. And they can also help memory cures and provide a sense of routine and stability, as well as support for person recognition. For instance, if it is an Alzheimer, you know, I can provide a component of voice recognition, voice or face recognition, so facilitating further continuous social interaction. To conclude on this, we also have smart home technology, so improving daily lives and independence. We can also do through the smart home technology, which can enhance daily living through automatic tasks, monitor health parameters, ensure safety, you know, for instance, voice-activated assistants that can remind to take medication or turn off electrical devices, unlock doors, and so on, to reduce the risk of accidents and alerts in case of emergency. To resume, we can also continue to say how these are very, technology is also favorable for cognitive training program and virtual reality expertise in the training program. ICT offer these programs and brain game design to maintain and improve cognitive function. I think this is already proof, so I can tailor this program to individual needs and engage in effective way to keep our mind active, no? And for the virtual reality, which I also experimented, so it's truly impressive because provides immersive experience that stimulate our brain, help with relaxation, and offer therapeutic benefits. So therefore, for all this discussion, for all this example, I would say that this can stimulate environments that older adults can explore, adding memory and cognitive function. So in conclusion, I would say the information and communication technology and emerging technology, if built with digital accessible requirements and universal design in mind, can make a fundamental difference in creating accessible and even affordable to not say inclusive and age-friendly digital environment. So it's contributing to a more healthy and active later life and empowerment for all of us. Finally, in my very last minute, I'll say the what. So what ITU is doing to achieve all this goal. In ITU in particular, in the development sector, we advocate for inclusive digital policies and strategies with digital accessibility in mind, as I saw, for all people, regardless of age, gender, ability, socioeconomic background, and location. So truly an inclusive approach. We also value very much intersectional approach, because the barriers, in particular for the digital aspect, are various. If I'm an old women, indigenous old women with disability, for instance. I apologize for this. All this to say that we are working with member states, with policy and decision makers to support of this in their countries. Also through direct work in the ITU through study groups, like the study group in digital accessibility. We also provide direct assistance guidelines through thematic reports, like the Aging in the Digital World for Vulnerable to Valuable. Some of the speakers here have been contributing to this. I refer to Sylvia, and thank you for this. In addition, we are also doing training programs in ICT for better aging and livelihood. Everything ITU is doing is free of charge in digital accessible format in multiple languages, and I encourage you to be used. And I cannot end this presentation without saying that collaboration in partnership is key. So whatever we do, we truly have to join efforts from organization, UN organization, but also governmental, private sector, academic members, and everyone to put the right expertise in place and make this happen. I want to give only one example. For instance, the event which was organized last year, Independent Aging Expo and Convention in Japan, led by Ms. Burrell, actually was fantastic to enable us all to not only share experience and practices, but to partnership. And from here, ITU learn in this type of events that actually in Japan, for instance, universities are already doing a sort of intergenerational programs that compensate the let's say, I would not say difficulties, but perhaps the fact that older person are not so quick in adopters of technology like the young people, which are considered digital natives. And they have been doing this fantastic program, which now ITU is part of it. So with all this, I thank you very much. I think there are a lot to say and a lot to share, but I'm here to support perhaps through intervention and other discussion and questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, dear Roxana. As always, it's a big pleasure to have you here. You are part of this wonderful family that we have created through this series. And thanks for highlighting the importance of digital accessibility. We commend the efforts of the ITU, and you have been considering vulnerable groups, and you have been trying to engage different stakeholders, which is really much appreciated. So thank you so much, and congrats again. Now, to continue, it's a pleasure to welcome Mr. Belisario Contreras, Senior Director of the Global Security and Technology Strategy at Venable. He possesses a deep understanding of international legislative and policy-making processes involving information technology and cybersecurity, and has fostered fruitful partnerships with various stakeholders, including high-level government officials, the private sector, and civil society representatives. Belisario is highly experienced in designing, managing, and monitoring international cooperation projects. He previously served as the manager head of the Organization of American States for the cybersecurity program. Please, Belisario, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ana Lucia, and thank you, Alex, and esteemed colleagues and panelists. An honor to be here with you today in this very interesting and sometimes forgotten topic. And I will say all of us, we're gonna age, and we probably have a beloved relative that it's an older age. So this should be a topic of priority for actually, besides inclusion, for economic reasons. This population represents a significant amount of the GDP of several countries, and we need to provide more awareness about how is the use of technology, what are the risks that they pose using the technology, how we build awareness on of all the threats that are out there, and make technology much common, much easier, and more interactive for other people. That way, it will be safer and much easier for that population, and you actually for the state, for commerce, for many actors, it will facilitate things. Nevertheless, as Ana Lucia introduced me, I am the Senior Director for Global Security and Technology Strategy at Venable, but I also coordinated DG Americas Alliance, which is a group of about 20 companies right now, focused on fostering the digital and cyber ecosystem in the Americas region. On the importance of mental health for other persons, I would like to just point out mental health is crucial for the overall well-being, particularly older adults who may face isolation, loneliness, and mental health challenges. Moreover, addressing mental health can improve the quality of life, enhance cognitive functioning, and promote longer, healthier lives. That's a process that we need to start tackling from the early on. We, I would say, need to be proactive instead of wait that these issues arise. Start early on, even from the youth, how youth and how persons can engage and can make these engagements more natural. On the role of new technologies, we have very interesting technologies, but of course, challenges and threats like telemedicine, telehealth, the wearable devices, and mobile applications. To give you an example, telemedicine provides remote access to professionals in Latin America. I'm mixing my Spanglish here, sorry. Mexico or Colombia, Argentina, there are programs that telehealth offer adults continuing support also in rural areas, which is a lot of the issue of significant importance in development economies like Latin America, Africa, or Southeast Asia. Telemedicine has been improving and has fostered a lot. So this is a game changer, or has been a game changer, and will continue to be with AI. And with the combination of telemedicine and wearable devices, doctors will be able to give and to provide assessments. Of course, we will need to provide, again, awareness about how to use this technology, how to protect the use of these technologies, because although these technologies are really useful, really helpful, they are vulnerable. And that data actually could be manipulated for wrong. And this is really, really important. We want to make sure that other people are protected. We don't want them, and you may laugh, but wrong data might cause a heart attack, or if it gets manipulated. For some people, this could sound crazy, but yeah, if you don't have the proper settings or the proper um, uh, mm, the proper protection in place, that could be for wrongdoing. Wearable devices, again, particularly for this population, as simple as a watch, monitors for vital signs. It's already a game changer for other population. Um, there are countries in Latin America like Brazil where they are using devices to help track the health for older adults, providing data that can be used to personalize care plans. Of course, here, very important issues to consider, it's privacy. How the privacy for older adults, for older population, is managed. So this is more than just focusing on population, but actually thinking on the bigger picture, So if we are working on this, on the wearable devices, okay, how privacy policies, how privacy regulations and legislation, we can ensure that we are also protecting this group of people. Sometimes we take things for granted, and we need to make sure that it is protected. We want to make sure that the data that you are capturing for all these devices, they don't go public, or that they are not misused by insurance companies or by other third parties that you are probably not given access or authorization. So consent here, it's a very important thing. Mobile applications, of course, I will say most of the interaction with the internet right now is through mobile devices, and thereof through mobile applications. There are numerous apps designed to support mental health and meditation. Even if you use a particular watch or wearable device, they might actually remind you things like as easy as stand up, or time to meditate, or time to take a breath. Those issues, I don't consider myself old enough, but for me are really important, and are important for everyone. Of course, for that group of people, it's a game changer. Just a reminder, the combination that a mobile application, a wearable device, telemedicine, all these three things, all that triangle, it makes magic. But again, awareness, changing the mindset, and promoting with the states and the private sector proper standards, proper risk management procedures, it's very significant. I want to, of course, there are many things on technology. We have also virtual companionships. We have smart technology, smart home technologies, and there are things. I don't want to take much of the time to respect my other panelists, but technology, the internet, and artificial intelligence, and the combination of several things will continue changing our lives. And it's important to be prepared, to be proactive, to make sure that we work together, government and private sector, to promote proper standards, proper regulations, to protect, of course, older people, but also when we approach this, say, look, these are concerns for older population. but also this is how we tackle the big picture. When you are talking about privacy, consider this group of people, this population has these particular needs. And tomorrow, everyone we're gonna age, right? So I think it's something about how to present, how to communicate, and how to make sure we all get aligned and on the same page. Again, cybersecurity or security, having an understanding of the importance of protecting our digital lives, it's completely priority. Payments, visiting a doctor, your passwords, it's a must. I am aware that it could be a little bit more challenging, but dedicating a little bit of interest about probably, there is a password manager. You don't need to memorize a password. You just need to download a free password manager and set up a second method of authentication. I'm not going to talk two-factor authentication, but besides the password manager that will automatically include your passwords in every place, and it will create different. And besides, on top of that, setting up a second method of our authentication, like a text message, or ideally something with FIDO standard, which is automatic number. It will secure your life. So that will give you more peace of mind, interacting with a bank, interacting with all your doctors, with all your digital life. So again, thank you very much, Jonita, for the time and the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Belisario. It's a pleasure to have you with us. Thanks for stressing on the fact that technologies are a must in our daily lives now. So we need to be careful with it. As you mentioned, as you mentioned, three components. It's important to raise awareness about the responsible use of it, to bear in mind the relevance of corporate social responsibility, and to have positive partnerships between the public and the private sector, as well as the importance of proper regulations. Thank you. And now to continue, it's a pleasure to have with us today a well-known expert on the right of older persons. Is Ms. Silvia Perel-Levin. She's an advocate for the human rights of older persons and an independent consultant. She has been working in the field of human rights, aging, and health for 25 years with international organizations, including the World Health Organization and the United Nations, the UN International Network for the Prevention of Elder Abuse, and the International Longevity Center Global Alliance, advocating for the adequate inclusion of older persons at the Human Rights Council and at the UN, and promoting a UN Convention on the Rights of Older Persons. She leads the subcommittee on the rights of older persons of the NGO Committee on Aging in Geneva, and she edited the book Aging of the Oppressed, a pandemic of intersecting injustice. It was published in September last year. Please, Silvia, the floor is.
Can you hear me? Because I lost your sound. Okay, that's good. Hello, yes, you can hear me, yes. Thank you very much for inviting me. It's always a pleasure to be with you. As you say, Ana Lucia, we are a family. And I want to build on things that Belisario, and I'm very happy that Belisario brought the safeguards and with a focus on safety and security. And I also want to focus on the safeguards from a point of view of human rights. Technologies have indeed the potential to improve the well-being of older persons and positively impact social connectedness and reduce social isolation and loneliness as long as they enable us to maintain our autonomy and independence so we can carry on fully participating in society, to access the services we need or we want, to physically connect with others, and to either opt in or out with full informed consent. That Belisari also mentioned the consent. However, I want to say that over-reliance on technologies may, by contrast, create new forms of segregation and neglect, abandoning older persons in their homes or places of residence without any links to the community that may increase the social isolation. So a human rights-based approach that includes participation and accountability would ensure that technology is a means for inclusion rather than a tool that risks to further segregation and exclusion. During the lockdowns of COVID-19, older persons benefited from ICTs to receive information, support services, and maintain contact with families and friends that many around the world could not benefit as they have either less access or no access at all to ICTs. Or if they have access, they may not have opportunities to develop the skills to use ICTs effectively. And this is why the ITU work is so important, both to bring the access to where that it doesn't exist and to develop the skills of people to use it effectively. But we also want to be co-producers. But older persons find themselves often excluded from participating in the design, training, and use of new technologies. We don't want to be just users that, a lovely, cool new app is tested on us or try to sell it to us. We don't just want to be an untapped market. We want to be co-designers. We want to be co-producers. New technologies, including assistive devices and robotics, are increasingly portrayed as cost-effective and efficient solutions, and indeed they can be. Technology assists other persons in daily tasks, provides a way of communication, and also monitors health status, as it was said today. But it can also monitor behavior. And this has an impact on the dignity and human rights issues, including the autonomy, informed consent, privacy, data protection that was mentioned, and equality or non-discrimination. There are things that are accepted for older persons that would never be accepted for others. Technology use should be based on the needs, preferences, and will of older persons, and not as control tools. Autonomy includes the right to refuse a certain form of support, such as robots, even if some of them are really great and friendly and may have positive impact. The right to free and informed consent is enshrined in Article 25 of the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. This requirement needs to apply to older persons also without disabilities. The obligation to obtain consent means to appropriately consult older persons and to ensure that they are not unduly influenced in their decision to use the use of technology. As technology and acceptance may fluctuate over time, we should also be able to change our minds and opt out of a technology at any time. As the independent expert Rosa Confel-Mate, she was the first independent on the rights of older persons. She said in her thematic report on technologies and robotics already in 2017, consent is not merely an administrative requirement. It is an essential element to a rights-based approach. OHCHR, the Office of the High Commissioner, and several special rapporteurs wrote reports on emerging technologies and alerted on the risk of unregulated AI and called to ensure that all new technologies comply with human rights principles. So assistive technologies, both low-tech and high-tech, are crucial for maintaining our autonomy and independence and are or should be considered a human right. CRPD includes assistive technologies as well and ICTs as tools for accessibility, mobility, and freedom of expression and access to information. A convention on the rights of older persons will need to include emerging technologies, intersections, and the ageism in AI algorithms, among other biases such as race and gender, which we know that the AI is it's full of biases. It is mostly designed by men, and there are a lot of issues of discrimination ignored by women or racial discrimination, but also ages, and this aspect is less studied. This right, the right of to have technologies or emerging technologies or assistive technologies would need to take into consideration the evolving nature of technologies. And it will be one of the contributions of the convention to the human rights system as a whole, as it would actually benefit people of all ages. The issue of intergenerational relations is usually raised, and Roxana mentioned it earlier, is raised in the digital context. And yes, it is extremely important indeed, but not if it only implies that older persons can only be taught and be supported by the young as if we knew nothing. People working in high tech, developers or programmers, also grow old and can be techier than many young, even if they were born in a digital world. I have in fact witnessed peer support, older persons teaching older persons, and also teaching younger persons how to use ICTs and other issues too. Digital literacy goes beyond just operating devices. It also encapsulates online media literacy, prevent abuse and scams, and challenge ageist attitudes and policies. Older women often find themselves outside this technological revolution. So ICTs and robotics can support caregiving and support. Sorry, I repeated the support and support. But I can support us in the caregiving and support the older person's needs. They can also help maintaining financial autonomy and independence as we learn to use online banking or public services that also Belisario mentioned. But let us challenge the prejudice that because we are old, we cannot learn or we cannot understand technology. But we need to be able to access training. And however, we should also have the right to carry on using cash or the post office or to interact with a real person on the phone rather than with machines and AI if we wish to do so. The fast changes into and within the digital world do leave people outside. And this will be the case with any future generation too, unless human rights principles are duly applied by all governments who have the duty to ensure that service providers indeed comply with human rights principles. In summary, technologies should be available, accessible, and acceptable to all. They are not a luxury, but fundamental enabling tools. And a human rights-based approach is the only way to ensure that technology is a means for inclusion rather than exclusion. Governments will go a long way by adopting a UN Convention on the Rights of Older Persons and include this topic within the convention. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, dear Sylvia, for enlightening us from the human rights approach. Certainly, technologies, including emerging ones, should be considered in the new, in the process of the UN Convention on the Rights of Older Persons, which is needed. Now, to continue with our panel, let me invite Madame Silvia Neira. She's the Vice President of the Global Initiative on Aging, GIA, an advisor of various NGOs related to education, health, and diversity, among other hats. She has experience as neuropathic physician, university lecturer, and senior tutor in the alternative medicine industry with numerous published articles. Please, Silvia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ana Lucia. Can everyone hear me properly? Yes? Thank you, Mr. Mejia, for inviting us here today. Thank you to my wonderful panelists. It's so exciting to hear you all. You're putting me in a tricky situation because you've said a lot of the things, right, that we all wanted to say. But it's really wonderful to hear what you're bringing the motivation up and raising up the scale of what it needs to be raised with the issues of aging and digital inclusion. I would like to give you a little bit of data. IHME, which is our collaborators work with us, they give us an analysis that shows that over $1 trillion is spent annually on healthcare for brain disorders. Now, this includes the whole range, from anxiety and depression of the youth and the seniors all the way to dementia and Alzheimer. Why am I saying that? Because brain health, it is at the top of the agenda if we want to have an inclusive, relevant population all the way from 0 to 100. Right now, it's not happening. So GIA, one of the top topics that we are trying to address, that we're implementing different digital technologies using the seniors at the core of what they need and looking at the studies that has been done on what they need and talking to them, making sure we address their needs, is to ensure that we support their brain health. Why? Because no matter your age, if your brain health is not there 100% in whatever level, from anxiety all the way to Alzheimer, you don't feel that you belong. You don't feel you have a purpose. You feel you become more irrelevant to yourself, to your family, to your community. Your job becomes obsolete, and therefore we stop fulfilling our purpose as a human being. If we're trying to reach a point where that we've never been before, which is we have more seniors than we've ever had before, and we should be saying, yes, more 80 years old than we've ever had before. This is wonderful. Not all the negative words that we're hearing about it. This is wonderful. It's an opportunity, and the opportunity needs to be implemented with the right methodologies, which for health means prevention. So another little piece of data. So IHME analysis also shows that $1.7 trillion annually is lost in income due to brain health disorders. Again, so we're going back to the core. Brain health is at the top. It doesn't just affect the person, it affects their purpose, it affects their labor, it affects the capacity to be able to work, and work is one of the big ones that we have to address. So let me tell you, within GIA, we are actually looking at work, labor inclusion as one of the top topics, brain health as another one, and financial wellness as another one. And we're using innovative technology, putting the seniors at the top, at the core. And we're looking into ways of implementing this, and we're working with different institutions globally, private and public sector, but private sector is key here, because we need to, this is having a momentum, the whole aging and longevity opportunities having a momentum, but we need the implementation of these methodologies to be tested and for the seniors to actually try and see really what works and doesn't work, and evaluate and monitor and readapt whatever doesn't work. So choices is one of the big things that we're trying to do. So within brain health, we're created an innovative technology. We're actually collaborating with our technology partner, and they've been able to provide for us something that will allow education in what to do within exercise, how to look after yourself, within health as well, preventative measures, in a very simple, inclusive way that will allow for seniors to understand what it is that they need to do to take care of themselves and prevent, because it's another figure that is very important, 40% of dementia and Alzheimer cases can be prevented. I mean, these are big numbers. Just in Europe, we have over 9 million people with very serious cases of Alzheimer's. So if this creates a burden not just to themselves, it creates a burden to the people, the community, the families. They have to take care of themselves, which is obviously their joy. But if they could be healthy, wouldn't that be better? And if 40% of the people can be prevented or even stopped from advancing, why are we not doing this? So this should be at the top of our agenda, to use this technology that needs to allow access for the seniors to know how, because we simply don't know how to look after ourselves. And with very simple things, it stops the process of degeneration. And as our dear friend Rosanna was mentioning, community is very important. The community, the research is there to show that being connected with our community is also at the top to slow it down, the cognitive, the mind process from depleting itself. So with this technology that we are using, we are aiming to reach the primary health care providers, so the nurses and the formal and informal care workers can provide this platform to the seniors. And therefore, you don't need to wait 2 years for a neurologist to give you a diagnostics. Prevent it, and you're stopping yourself a lot of expenses in the healthcare system, a lot of issues within the health, within your brain health, by simply enhancing the quality of life of the people by having access to something that we know what it needs to be done, and we're simply not doing it. I like what Belisario was saying with meditation and other technologies that we can use. I would like to mention something about that. Is we know from the 70s, a lot of information and research has been done on how meditation and other tools to help with consciousness and self-awareness allow to reduce anxiety and depression. We know anxiety and depression leads to isolation, as Sylvia Perel has rightly so said, and therefore that leads to cognitive decline later on in life. Why are we not teaching these simple methodologies worldwide to all our youth? You know, we're talking about the seniors, but we need to think more than 1 or 2 steps ahead. We need to think, who are the future seniors? If we are giving the tools to our youth and we empower them to take care of their own health, we are raising a community of citizens that know that they have the tools, what to do to take care of their brain health. And we now know that if you take care of your brain health, your physical health, you have more chances of taking care of that. You have more chances of being part of that community. You have more chances of being inclusive and carried on with your labor employment as long as you want. Which leads me to my second point, labor inclusion. We know it's not happening. Thank you, Rosanna, for raising all the issues and all the technology implementation tools that you're doing there. We're really grateful to hear that we have to talk. And we have a technology actually that we have also developed with our technology partners that is about flexible working hours. We call it Brain Project. We call it Brain Project because even though it's not about brain health, we have realized that by having opportunities to be able to be included in the labor market, if you choose to do so, regardless of your age, will keep your brain health stable until your last breath, right? So this is what we're trying to do. And this technology, something that I would like to mention back to Sylvia and Belisario, is that well, not I personally, I have no idea about digital technology that protects the cybersecurity and so on how to do it, but we have some geniuses that have come up with this fabulous idea of using what is called SSI, which is sovereign identity technology. And it basically bypasses the digital bridge that we're having with the seniors, because they don't need to put passwords, they don't need to do any of this, or the fingerprints that they disappear. What they do is that by moving your face side to side, you know that it's not a robot. You're having full digital identity recognition of the person, and therefore you bypass all these digital issues that we've been talking about. And regarding to cybersecurity, they have used this technology, which is from the blockchain, and which ensures that from beginning to end, there is no fraud, there is no issue from the financial sector all the way for them to be able to know when they get paid and accordingly so. So these are technology that we're very excited to mention that the first pilot is going to happen in Holland, and we're in the process of developing it right now. And because they also have the policies within the government, which is why we need governments and private sector to allow for the seniors not to be penalized if they choose to work. And then number three, the other thing that we are working with within GIA, and this is a big one, is financial wellness. Oh my God, cybersecurity, financial inclusion, women entrepreneurials. Come on, I know there's a lot of women out there listening to me thinking, why are we never taken into consideration? And as you're 40 plus, research shows that actually we are amazing at creating businesses. But what happens is that you go to a bank, you are 50, 55, 60, and you say, I have 2 houses and I would like to get a loan. They say, no. Why? Because you can't. You go to a 20 years old, they ask you for a loan. They say, yes, because you're young. Okay, wonderful for the youth. We've been ageist towards the seniors. All of this was created on the 1800 when we were meant to live only to 45 years old. Come on, this is not the new reality. So financial institutions need to adapt to this new reality. So we're sitting down on the table with them and we're ensuring that even they're telling me, yes, this issue is happening with my mom. You know, she would like to set up a business, but she has no opportunity to do so. So we are creating courses, and we're using innovative technology to allow and facilitate this process, this education, because education is at the top of everything that we have to do. We have to educate about not being ageist. We have to educate about financial inclusion, about healthcare, and about labor inclusion. We need to make seniors believe that we value the knowledge, their experience. As Silvia was saying, you know, the seniors feel that why would I want to carry on working? People don't want to know about me. First, let's change the perspective. Let's change the worldview that seniors don't have anything to offer. And because the solution to all the crises, as they're saying, are with the seniors. So I would like to simply commemorate all the panelists for the amazing work that you're doing. And as Rosanne said, collaborations. We need to join forces. We need to join hands. Stronger. While we are stronger, the impact will become not just faster, but wider. So I have faith on all of you to help us keep on developing these amazing topics so that they reach globally everyone that needs to be reached. With implementation, which is very much needed. We have amazing white papers, but we need to implement a lot of the work that we're talking about. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Silvia, for your insights and for highlighting the importance of training indeed, which is something that must be done. Yeah. And it's a pleasure for us to work together with GIA on this endeavor. It's important to bear in mind the needs and the strengths of older persons and not just trying to help them from the protective perspective. That's not the correct path. Now, it's a big pleasure to have with us Professor Andrew Schmidt, part of the Department of Gerontology at Simon Fraser University. He's also Director of Science and Technology for Aging Research Institute at the university. He was a Scientific Director of Age Well, Canada's Technology and Aging Network between 2015 and 2020, and the Associate Scientific Director between 2020-2022. He's now an Age Well Network Advisor. He was the president of the International Society of Gerontology and was previously director of the Gerontology Research Center and deputy director of IRMAX Center at SFU. His research interests include technology for independent living, theories, and methods in aging and understanding the innovation process. Please, Professor Schmidt, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you hear me all right? Yeah.
Yes, we can
first
hear
of
you.
all, apologies. I've just had a perfect storm of my connection being unstable to start with. I've also been very, very sick this week. so my brain isn't working too well. And finally, I couldn't log in. So it's the technological barriers are always going to be with us. So anyway, I'd just very briefly like to talk to you about AgeWell, which is Canada's Aging and Technology Network. I'm not sure whether anybody has heard of AgeWell, but I was the founding director with my colleague Alex Mihalidis, who's at University of Toronto. AgeWell was set up with government funding in 2015 and is coming up now for its 9-year anniversary now. Over that time, we've engaged in a whole range of activities around research. So we funded very extensive research program focusing on not just technologies that are about health and aging and sickness and aging, but the whole range of technologies that we might need to think about when we're supporting an aging society. So can we think about inclusive technologies that are going to support people living at home, smart home technologies, community-based technologies, technologies we might want to use in the workplace. So Madame Sylvia Nera, who's just been talking, mentioned the workplace. Yeah, we've got an increasingly aging workforce. At the same time as the world of work has been changing extremely rapidly in recent years. So adapting, individuals adapting in the workforce and the workforce generally adapting to technological change is a big issue. Can we make technologies inclusive rather than the sort of exclusive approach that we tend to have, anyway. So AgeWell has been doing research in a whole range of areas around supporting older people's independence and health. However, my colleague Alex and I, right from the start, realized that the big problem in this sector is not the research, it's more about turning the research into real world products and services that are going to have an impact in the real world. So you may be aware that from my accent that I'm not originally Canadian. I'm from the United Kingdom originally. I spent decades of my life working on EU-funded projects going back to the 1990s, and really, and all those projects I was involved with had to have a commercialization or a knowledge mobilization plan. I've said this in many occasions, presentations, that if I was to give myself an assessment of all that, I'd probably give myself a C+, basically, because really in terms of where those projects, research projects have gone, is primarily they were research projects that didn't really go any further. So Alex and I were very aware that that was the kind of the way that things were, but not just in Canada, but in other parts of the world as well, despite our best attempts. So what we've been doing in AgeWell is really to focus on, as well as the research, but also to focus on supporting the innovation pipeline. So connecting the research in a much more developmental way with the innovation pipeline, right from envisioning and development in the research stage, but through to the commercialization, and really providing the sorts of supports that many of the small and medium enterprises and startups fail to get at really crucial times during their existence. So particularly the so-called Valley of Death and a whole range of other geographical barriers that exist within the innovation pipeline. How can we help small and medium enterprises and startups to go past these hurdles? How can we get them to, put their develop their products in a way that is going to attract investment, but equally to have an ethical lens as well, because Age Well is about improving the quality of life and health of older people. The third element of this, and I think this was also mentioned in the previous presentation, is the role of training. So our training program has always focused on understanding technology in its socio-technical context. That technology does not exist just in its own right to serve a function. It exists within a social context within which the person lives. So that's what we really need to understand. How is that technology going to work? So a really good example of this is if you're looking to put in some sort of support system into a person's home, a person's needs are going to be totally different if they're living at home with a relative compared to somebody who's, say, living on their own, right? So the same sort of technology is not going to work in those very different contexts, even though the actual the actual health or medical condition that the person might have might be more or less the same. So we need to be really aware of the context within which that technology is being applied. Now, if people are interested, I can connect with you afterwards. So please don't be afraid of sharing my email to people on the call. I'm more than happy to send information about Age Well. I can connect you with people within Age Well, and I can send you information about the particular work that I'm involved in. Which recently has been focused on, over the last couple of years, focused on ethical issues around technology. And again, I think those have been touched on in previous presentations, that while technologies may present themselves in a positive way, and I think most of the people working in this space are looking to develop technologies that are going to benefit older people. Technology in many ways can be a double-edged sword, that it brings benefits and potential disadvantages. It may be very disruptive. We just heard about issues around privacy, for example. How do we deal with those sorts of issues in everyday life? So that's what the key area that I'm particularly interested in at the moment, and I'd be more than happy to connect with people who might want to discuss issues around the ethical dimension of technology and aging. I think I'm going to have to draw it to a close there.
Thank you very much, Professor Sixschmidt. We truly appreciate your time. We understand you have been busy, and we truly wish you the best to get better soon.
Thank you very much. I'm struggling at the moment health-wise. So I'm really going to have to sign off. But I'd be more than happy to connect again in the future. And as I say, I'd be more than happy to provide people with information and connect with you about your own work. Thank you very much.
We appreciate it. Thank you so much. For sure that we will be in touch. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
To continue, it's a pleasure to welcome back our dear Professor Michael Stein. He's the co-founder and executive director of the Harvard Law School Project on Disability and visiting professor at Harvard Law School since 2005. He's considered one of the world's leading experts on disability law and policy. He participated in the drafting of the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. He has wide experience working with different stakeholders around the world, including on disability laws and policies, and advice to several UN bodies and national human rights institutions. He has wrote landmark disability rights litigation globally, and he has received numerous awards in recognition of his transformative work. He is also quite active on the rights of older persons. So it's a big pleasure to have with us our friend Dr. Stein. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you ever so much. It's a joy and a pleasure to be with you, although also a challenge to follow such a rich and interesting panel. My fellow panelists have mentioned a lot of themes that are extraordinarily relevant. They're relevant to the rights of older persons. They're relevant as well to the rights of persons with disabilities, and note that there is a demographic overlap between those two groups, but they're not always the same, and there are different considerations that need to be highlighted. To just traipse through some of what has been said with a few small glosses, and then to offer some thoughts. ICT and the digital world is obviously the world that we're living in, and we're not going back to the days of hard technology, right? We're not going back to the physical. And it's a very different world in 2024 than it was in the early 1990s, when email was the new big thing, and one could either opt in or opt out. We no longer have the choice, or very soon we will no longer have the choice as to whether or not to use technology, smartphones, apps, and so on. We are being forced, whether we like it or not, in order to access our medical records, in order to access our banking, in order to access, for me, my children's school records, opportunities to participate in extracurricular activities, and so on and so forth. There should be choices. I echo Sylvia on this. But increasingly there are not. And to give you a silly example, the other day in a restaurant in Cambridge here in the US, they refused to take cash. That's illegal. Cash is legal tender, but yet they refused to do it, credit cards only. And I said, well, wonderful, then I guess I just won't be paying you. But increasingly the perspective, the assumptions, and the modalities are a digital world. And people who are older, much like other groups that are marginalized, tend to be behind or left out in the co-design of these technologies. So we have a history in a very different realm of gaming, where it was all about, white boys. And then they discovered that people of color also game, and that actually women game more than men. They still haven't quite figured out that people with disabilities engage in gaming. I myself have never done it. But the population, both of users and of consumers, is large, but the population of code designers is extremely small. And the same is true for older persons. My co-panelists mentioned lots of really great points about how the digital world can increase social connection. And one can imagine all kinds of wonderful things, such as being able to connect with a relation who is far away or far enough away. How one can access health platforms and information if you're in a rural area and it's 30 or 40 miles to get to the nearest medical care professional. Being able to converse with someone through telehealth is enormously empowering. We touched a little bit about AI and its possible uses. So for example, from something as simple as a reminder to take your medication at a certain point, to something much more sophisticated, such as having an interaction on whether certain foods are good or not good for you, what the cost-benefit analysis is of it, and so on. But it's not only a one-sided idea. The WHO very rightly poses a program on social isolation and loneliness, and specifically relating to older persons. And we have to think about, as humanists, and I say this as someone who has, on the one hand, published 2 books on information and communication technologies, but on the other hand, has a PhD in 19th century British history. So we have to think about it as humanists, as to what is this doing to the way that our society is structured? And what are the human interactions that will increase or decrease, and in what form coming out of it? And that's something that we haven't discussed very much today. So yes, we can increase social connection in the sense that two of us can get onto WhatsApp or Facebook or whatever and communicate with each other. But what happens if that means that I never leave my home? For some people who have difficulty leaving their home because of all kinds of reasons relating from health to inaccessible transportation to others, that may be a good thing. For other people, it may not be such a good thing. We need to be careful when we think about technology and to think about the dangers of it increasing loneliness in some respects rather than decreasing loneliness. If we had an anthropologist or a sociologist among us, they probably would talk about the need for humans to physically interact with each other. You cannot get hugged through a smartphone. People need physical contact and need to see each other and to interact with each other. We are social animals. That's not going to change, whatever good benefits and advantages there are related to it. And we also need to think about technology as being a double-edged sword. So this is a real academic piece and design. It's not something I'm imagining, but recently in the American Journal of Bioethics, in discussing what to do with an individual who cannot express her own preferences. Now, that could be someone who's in a psychiatric episode, but it could be someone who has dementia, right? This article posited that in order to comply with the CRPD General Comment 1 on best interpretation of preferences, that we do a deep meta dive into AI and come up with past healthcare choices, income, race, other socioeconomic determinants of health and choices. And to me, that's shockingly wrong because, it means that white, privileged, wealthy males will have an AI that says they want all the best healthcare possible, whereas lesser included individuals, maybe the AI will pose that, well, they don't value their lives as much, and going through a series of, for example, clinical trials or other uncertain health outcomes is not where they would be going. That to me is very dangerous. That to me is wrong. And also, even if we had that data and even if it was accurate, humans are too diverse, too interesting, too contrarian, too complex. It's part of what makes us interesting and wonderful, to actually put it into the data and say, this is what we're going to do for an individual. So I'm both very excited by what can come out of the use of technology as far as older persons. I'm also very concerned about it. We're in mid 2024. We've had the CRPD since December 2006, and every day hundreds of thousands of websites and tech applications are going up that are not inclusive. They're not inclusive of people with various disabilities. And again, the population is not the same as older persons, but by implication, they are not inclusive of older persons as well. And this goes beyond the print disabled and blind that we think about in terms of Marrakesh. It includes people with cognitive and other issues who engage and have cognitive load issues. They can't consume too much technology at once. We haven't thought this through, and we haven't thought this through regarding aging. We also haven't thought through about when AI and other technology fall short, where is the human element? When does the human element come in? P.S. Wouldn't that be a really interesting area, both for persons with disabilities and for older people who have experience, who are problem solvers, to become engaged and welcomed in as being the human support or alternative to some of these technologies. So there's a world of wonderful possibilities. There's also a very large field of concerns and things that we need to worry about. And this is an area where the technology and the science are so far ahead of the regulations that we're actually catching up and leaving many, many behind. as far as trying to make sure that we're inclusive. We're way behind. So this is a very strong area in which a UN specialized treaty on older persons needs to have the wisdom of civil society, humanities, faith-based organizations, and others who think about what the human implications are for when we advance on all these very marvelous new world events. And so thank you for having me. Again, lots of pluses, lots of things to be concerned about, and I hope that we move forward and think about these things as a world community.
Thank you very much, Professor Stein. Your examples are quite good to understand what's going on in practice and the need of moving forward towards the effective participation and protection of older persons. To conclude, I would like to give the floor back to each speaker for 2 minutes, please, for your final insights and closing remarks. Let me start now the other way around, let's say that, with Madame Silvia Perel, please.
Oh,
2
okay,
minutes.
wasn't the last one, never mind. I can go in.
Surprise.
Just I will repeat, the access to technologies is not a luxury. We should all be able to access with the concern of all the problems that come with it, always with a human rights-based approach. So that is my bottom line, and thank you so much.
Thank you very much, dear Silvia. Now, Silvia Neira, please.
Thank you, Ana Lucia. I think I would just like to say that we did have an industrial revolution where we felt humanity wouldn't have a purpose thereafter, wouldn't have jobs, we didn't know what to do. And it was a dip, but we race above it. We are magnificent. Humankind is magnificent. Under a crisis, we know how to go above it. This is the artificial intelligence revolution. So I believe on humankind to bring back the heart into it, to use artificial intelligence and digital inclusion for the purpose of humankind and not the other way around. So thank you. This has been a wonderful, wonderful webinar. Thank you to all. And my apologies because I have to actually cut off because I have a board meeting. My apologies. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Alex. Bye, all my dear panelists. Ciao, ciao. Bye, bye.
Thank you, Silvia. Now, please, Belisario.
Sorry, no, thank you once again for the opportunity and again to be able to share the insights and the importance about raising awareness, changing the mindset. Of course, security is a passion and it's something that it should be a interest of everyone. And I totally agree. It should be a start from early on, and that will have an impact on every stage of the ladder. So thank you very much, Alex, Lucia, and everyone.
Thank you, Belisario. Please, Roxana. We can't hear you.
Sorry. sorry, I was muted. Thank you so much. For me, technology should be accessible, available, and affordable to all. Should be human-centered and done to serve us to have a better life. For me, by harnessing the power of ICT and the new technology, including the artificial intelligence, we truly can create a brighter present and future for present and future older generation. I'm a positive person, and I truly believe that it is in our hands together to make this happen. And I had prepared a very short surprise for you. With the power of technology, I prepare something a visual, which was supposed to present the discussion that we had today. And I would ask, if possible, Ana Lucia to share with you. This is not my creation. It's a creation of the artificial intelligence, but was done under my guidance. I tell them many things, and I require to put in a visual how, for me, I see the importance of emerging technology and how they can help us. So I managed to have this visual and another one. I don't know if this is still possible, but it was on the same spirit. And I'm truly positive that together we can achieve this goal for us and for future generations. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, dear Roxana, for sharing this example on the use of technology. This is ChatGPT, right?
Exactly, exactly. But ChatGPT under
Right.
our guidance, because otherwise we cannot do too much.
Yes,
Thank
yes.
you.
Yes, that's great. Thank you very much, dear Roxana, for joining us today. And now I give the floor back to our director, Mr. Alex Mejia, for closing.
Thank you very much, dear Ana Lucia. Thank you very much, distinguished panelists. As always, a lot of elite thinking, as I will say, to think about and to encourage us to do the changes that we need to do. Let me just leave you with two ideas behind, but the first is not an idea, it's an announcement, and I think someone implied to that. We are approaching the Summit of the Future in October 21 and 22, if I'm correct, September 21, 22, within the framework of the General Assembly of the United Nations in New York. And I would like to invite you, if you belong to a civil society organization, and Sylvia, our own Sylvia Perez-Levin, of course, is the most excellent representative in that sense, but several other people involved here. I would like to invite you to put this in your radar and to write to DESA, to our colleagues at the Department of Economic and Social Affairs in New York, to request access or to go through your own civil society organization to participate in this critical historical meeting in September, because we are going to start the deliberations on what is it that the United Nations should do in the future. What is it that will be replacing when the moment comes Agenda 2030 and the Sustainable Development Goals, and particularly with a focus. There are 6 tracks, right? And the working groups just started working literally this month. But one of those tracks is technology. So I wanted to share with you this and to put it, kindly ask you to put it in your radar and to participate and engage remotely or in person. If you can register, you will enrich this conversation. But the second is indeed an idea, and an idea that started in September 2015. It comes from before, but it was adopted by the General Assembly of the United Nations in September 2015, when the Agenda 2030 for Sustainable Development was conceived. And this, I'm sure you have heard that, but please allow me, is this double concept of the whole of society and the whole of government. It's not only the whole of society and it's not only the whole of government, it's both. So all the things that you heard, the importance of grasping technology, the challenges and opportunities for all the persons in the manners that you heard, the legislation behind it, the best practice sharing, the actual framework of a global convention in this sense, and so on, active aging behind this concept has to involve that concept, that the spirit of the process is exactly that. The whole of society should be involved in this quest, and the whole of government should be involved in this quest. So let me finalize with that, inviting you to continue engaging with us in this series that my colleagues, and particularly Ms. Ana Lucia Jacome, organizes every year, bringing to you, dear participants, outstanding panelists and experts, as you just heard. So to all of them, a big thank you from UNITAR And to you, distinguished participants, our special recognition for staying beyond the allotted time. It was supposed to be 1 hour and a half, and it's already 1 hour and 41 minutes. So with that, thank you very much indeed. You can count on us to continue advancing this cause pro the rights of older persons. And from myself, in my mother tongue, muchas gracias. That's it. Farewell to all.